Welcome back. This time I'm actually going to do a recording with sound. So we are going to pick up where we left off last week, which is chapter 2 in the handout that we are working through that you have on Blackboard. And we last worked through page 40, no, that's not true. We last worked through page 47. We were talking about divs and how they're just structural elements, how we have header area, navigation area, content areas, and footers, and then inside of them we can have divs. So we're going to move ahead and we're going to get going on page 48. But what I have on here, it's in Blackboard. It's a starting file example that you can download, and we're going to type this into Notepad and save this as a template that we can reuse as we're working. So launch Notepad. You can see I have a brand new clean Notepad, and we're going to mimic what we have over here on the left and type this all in. And remember that everything is important as far as remembering spelling errors. Remember to have closing carets, closing quotation marks, backslashes to close out your tabs, etc. So this opening doc type HTML with the exclamation point in front simply tells humans that this is going to be written in HTML code. And then the next line down, the HTML language equals English, is the actual code that the computer reads, the opening tag. And if you go down and close out your HTML tag, whoops, and we'll do a file save as, and we're going to put this on your desktop. You all should have a folder, or somewhere you should have a folder called homework. We worked on that last time, and we're just going to name this file template.html. We don't want it to be a text file, so make sure that it's nothing down here. It just says all types, and then in this part you actually type in .html. Once we do that, we see it saved here in our tab, and we can also see that now when we click on tags, they're going to light up purple, and the opening and closing tags are going to light up to show us that we have it correct. So once you have your original HTML tags, the next thing we're going to do is our head tag. And we're going to go down a few lines and close that out. So instead of literally just typing from line 1 to 15 what you see over here, I'm doing it in the logical way that will remind you to do opening and closing tags. Inside that head tag, we're going to have the title of our document, and then the text is going to fit inside here. Closing title tag. And then on the next line down, we're going to give it that character set in the meta tag so that it understands how to display this. So meta character set equals, and then in quotes, UTF-8, end quotes, and caret. This is a standalone tag. There's only one. We don't have a closing meta tag. And that's everything that's going to be inside of our head tag. Remember, this is the stuff that is not seen on your web page. It is only used by search engines to show results, and it's used in the tab that shows up at the top of your search. The next tag we will have is the body tag, and we will close out the body tag right before we close out the HTML. So everything inside of the body tag is what is actually seen on your page. Everything in the head tag is not visible. Everything in the body tags is visible. So this is your basic shell, and by saving this as a template, we'll be able to open this as we continue to work through this class. So remember to save this document either with the icon here or do a file, save. If it's grayed out, it's done. All right, now that we have our template, I want to talk to you a little bit about anchor elements, and we have talked about those. Those use the, the anchor element is that A tag that we've used so far, and we've used it followed with an href or a hyperlink reference telling it what should be linked, where it should go, and It's an inline display element, which means it comes right in our HTML code, and anything between the opening A tag and the closing A tag will actually be displayed on the web page. So in this example, the words that are actually showing on the web page are the words in between the opening and closing A tag, therefore the words contact us. These are going to be a hyperlink that you can click on, and where they go is what's coded here. They are hyperlink referencing a page called contact.html that is in the same folder. If it has to go out of this folder, we'll learn about how we do that in the future, but this is going to be really important that we have subfolders or folders set up on our desktop, and we're saving everything that relates to that website inside that folder. So our index page, which is the home page, if there's a contact or a services page, all of those have to be inside of that folder. So let's jump back to our handout and do the hands-on practice on page 212. And we'll do that in Notepad. So this is the blank document that we started already, and we're going to follow along on page 48, and what they want us to do is give a title to this page, and this is going to be an example of anchors. So anchor example. And then the rest of it actually shows up within our body. So what we're going to have is an anchor, and it's going to hyperref or href to a certain point, and that is going to be, we're going to link it to LTC's website instead of the one in the book. So http:// go to ltc.edu, and then we finish our quotation mark, and we close out the caret. This whole thing is our opening A tag. Now, whatever words we want to have show up on our page, we'll type right here. We'll say visit the LTC website, and then we're going to close out the anchor. So these words will show up on our website, and they will be hyperlinked here. So let's save our file, either do a file save, or click on the save icon right here. And then let's run this in Chrome and see what we have. So here's the example. The title, I'm going to shrink this window down so we kind of have a split screen here. The title that we wrote in, anchor example, actually shows up here, and that's where we expect to see it. And then the only text visible is that's inside the body tags, and it's visit the LTC website. And the whole thing is a hyperlink that should work. And we'll see. Whoops, I bet I know what I did wrong. I hope I know what I did wrong. www, http, go to LTC, save, come back over here. I think it was just taking its sweet time. I'm not sure that the www had anything to do with it. It didn't. So that just took a long time. Notice it opened in the same tab. So to get back to our original page that we created, we'd have to back up like this. And there's a way that we can have it open in its own tab, and we'll learn about that in just a minute. What if we only wanted the words LTC website to be the hyperlink, not the visit? Well, anything that's wrapped in these A tags is what's going to show up on your page and be hyperlinked. So all we have to do is take out a few words here. We don't want the words visit the, so we're going to take those out. And we could have our other words showing up here, and we could wrap those in an actual paragraph. So opening P tag, oops, and then say visit the LTC website, and anything wrapped in the A tags is going to be hyperlinked. And then we can say to learn more about LTC, period, and then close out our paragraph. You can see that my text keeps going left to right, and that's annoying, and we don't necessarily want that. So we can turn on the text wrap, which is one of these icons, or we can go under View, and we can find text wrap in here and turn that on. Now our type won't go from left to right. When it hits the end of our screen here, it'll wrap around. So here's our whole paragraph. and the only words we want hyperlinked are LTC website. So save that and then come over here and refresh it or run it in Chrome, and we see the result. Visit the LTC website to learn more about LTC. All right. So, learning a little bit more about our hyperlinks in your handout. We have absolute links and relative links. Whenever you do an absolute link, that is going to some other website outside of yours. So it's not just another page within your site. So this one, if we wanted to make a link to yahoo.com, we would do the absolute address using the HTTP protocol, which is what we just did with our LTC, with the example we just did. A relative link points to another page within your own site that's stored in that same folder, and it's relative to the current page. So we could have an index page, contact us, a services page, and those are all within your site. When you're doing hyperlinks, think about accessibility. Think about those screen readers. So descriptive phrases are better for screen readers. It'd be better for them to read something that says search course information here versus click here. So write better phrases and not something as generic as click here. If we wanted to open a link in a new browser window, we need to add one line of code. Whoops. And inside that opening anchor, for example, the one that we have cooking right now is the one about go to LTC. We would add this one term, target equals, and then in quotations, underscore blank. So let's pop back over to our notepad. And inside this href, after we've closed the quotation mark with the website URL, we need to do target equals, and then in quotation marks, underscore blank, end quotes. And that will tell it to pop up in its own new tab over here. So let's save, and I'm just going to come over here and refresh this. And I'm not sure that it did refresh, to be honest, but we'll find out when we click here. It did work, because notice it's launched a whole new tab, and our tab is still available here. So if you have people at your website and you want to offer them something on an external site, you always want to make that pop up in a secondary browser tab so that people can easily get back to your site. If the person spends 15 minutes here and has clicked 25 times, in the old version they'd have to hit the back arrow 25 times to get back to your site. However, if you use this target blank, it's going to pop open in a new tab, and then you'll have them both open, which is much better. Okay, moving on in our handout, we're now going to work on page 50, which says Practice with Hyperlinks, and it's talking to you about making a folder for a file called Trillium. We've actually already done this, so hopefully you have access to this on your desk folder called Trillium. If I go to my desktop and take a look at this, I currently have 3 pages, but I'm thinking you guys don't. Not yet. So what I need to do is make this look like your site. And all we really should have in here is a file called index. One piece of advice, if you double click on this from this folder on your desktop, it's automatically going to open it in a browser because it assumes that that's how you'd want to see an HTML file. You'd want to see it visually, not necessarily work on it in Notepad. So your options to get this open in Notepad are either to first open Notepad and then do a file open and navigate to it, or from this folder view you can right click on it and you can choose Edit with Notepad++ from the pop-up window, and that will bring you into the code view, which is what you want to see. All right, I need to clean this up because I forgot that I already did this. Oh boy. I believe this is what yours should look like. We had previously made a document. Actually, it looked a little bit different. Let me get that. Thanks to the power of editing, this is what your file actually would look like. So your index file from your Trillium folder should have a navigation section, and inside that, coded in bold, we have 3 words: home, services, and contact, and each are separated by a non-breaking space, and that's the only way we can get that to work. Hitting the space bar on our keyboard won't actually make that work. So this is our starting point. We can see that our menu items or our navigation items are 3 words in bold right here in a line with some space between them. So that's our starting point, and if you didn't have that, the code is on page 47 in the handout on Hands-On Practice 2.11. That's where we're picking up from. So moving on, we're on page 51 in our handout. We are going to go to step A, and we're going to edit this file, and we're specifically going to edit this navigation section. And we're going to make each one of these hyperlink to a page. So I'm just going to clean this up a little by hitting enter, and I'm just showing you that I'm going to have all 3 of these on their own line, and I have the bold. I'm going to tab these over also just because it's easier to see. So what's inside of our navigation section is still these 3 words with the bold tags, but I push them down under their own lines. I want to prove to you that this has no change in how it looks. Here's the refresh page. Notice they did not go down a line. There is no break code that's forcing them to go down a line like they are over here in my code, and that's perfectly fine. So the reason we did this is so we can wrap each word in anchor text that links it to a particular page. So opening _A, href equals, and then in quotes, the page we want to link it to, which is the index page. Index.html, end quote, end caret. And then after the word home, we want to stop the hyperlinking, so \A. We want to end the anchor. So this word right here, home, is wrapped in the A tag. It's going to link to a page called index.html. We're going to do the same thing for these next 2 pages. Sometimes it's easier to copy and paste and then just change out some words. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to copy this closing tag, and I'm going to paste it behind these 3 words. Right now, they would all link to a page called index. That's not what we want. And as you can see in the book, the services page should link to a page called services, and the contact page should link to a page called contact. You need to be aware of how you're naming these so that the pages you make match this. Services is plural, so we're going to have to be aware of that. So right now we only have a page called index in our subfolder. I can get back to that, I'll show you. This is our Trillium folder. Only 1 page exists so far, a page called index. Eventually we're going to make 2 new pages, and we're going to link them all together so this hyperlink works. So let's save this document and run it in Chrome to see what it looks like. And you can see that there are now 3 different hyperlinks. The home page takes us to the home button takes us to the index page. The services page takes us to a page called services up here, but it doesn't exist yet, so we need to back up. And our contact page takes us to a page called contact, which also doesn't exist yet. But our hyperlinks are working as they should. So from here, we're going to create a new page called services. And the easy thing to do is to not reinvent the wheel. Everything we have on this page, 3 of the 4 components are going to stay the same. Our header, Trillium Media Design, over here, is going to exist on all of our pages. Our navigation section over here, this nav section here, and what we see here is going to be the same on all 3 pages. And our footer section, what we see right here, copyright, that's going to stay the same. The only part that's going to change out is currently what's inside of this div right here that says New Media Design. So I have 2 heading 2s and 2 paragraphs. That's the part that's going to change from page to page. So the common practice is to simply change it out. So we're going to start by doing that, and we're going to modify this page and then save it with a different name, or probably to be safer, we're going to save it and then modify it. So on your existing index page, we're going to do a File, Save As. We're going to make sure, this is critical, make sure you're still in this Trillium folder. Don't let this just go to your desktop or somewhere else, or your links will not work. It has to be in the Trillium folder. And we're going to name this one Services. Make sure you spell it right and with an S, .html, and click Save. So we now have a page called Services, but it has all the same information as our original page. So what we need to swap out basically is this section right here in the div. So anything inside of our div we can delete out, and we can add the new text that you see on page 52. And we're also going to change out a couple of other things. First thing we're going to do is we're going to change our we're going to change our title, the thing that shows up in the tab. We're going to add to it by doing hyphen services, and then we're going to come down into our body section, and in our div we are going to add a header 2 that says our services meet your business needs. This is a header, so I should probably capitalize all the big words. Our services meet your business needs. And then we're going to add a definition list. Remember, those are DLs, and the entire list is wrapped in that DL tag. Inside of there, we have DTs, which are the definition term, and they also asked us to code those in a strong, so it's going to show up as bold, but it's going to read strong. And then the actual definition is wrapped in a DD tag. So we're going to add the text that you see on page 52. So by the power of editing, I have added this definition list. We have a definition term wrapped in strong tags, and we have the definition itself. Then we have the second definition term wrapped in strong tags, and the definition, and the third. So by doing this, saving it and running it in Chrome, we'll see where we are with our second page. This is what our services page looks like. It's a definition list. If you have any issues with things all being bold, it's probably because you forgot to close out your strong tag, or you forgot the backslash. The easiest way to check for this is to click on one tag, and the closing tag should highlight in purple. If you forgot, for example, the backslash, when I click on DL, it doesn't highlight in purple and it doesn't highlight the closing tag. Something's wrong. Remember, the backslash is important, as are the closing carets and quotation marks up here. So make sure you troubleshoot, and this is what you should get. So that worked pretty easily. So we now have on our desktop a folder called Trillium with two HTML pages, Index, which is our home page, and Services, which we've made so far. We're now going to make a third page, and we're going to do that same process. We're going to take this page, and we're going to do a File, Save As, and we are going to name this one Contact.html. Mine has that right here in the extension. So save. Now notice that our tab up here changed. We have Contact.html, and once again we need to make a few tweaks. So in the title up here we need to change the word services to be contact, and then we need to go down into our actual div where we have things showing. We're going to change our heading to read something new. I'm on page 53, number 4B in the book. Contact Trillium Media Design Today. And then underneath that, instead of having a definition list, they want us to put in an unordered list, which is a bulleted list with two list items. And so you're going to type that in just like you see on page 53. So here's the unordered list that you added in. Opening and closing unordered list UL tags. The first list item is an email address. We actually want this word to show up, email, and then wrapped in the A tags, the words we want to show up are contact@trilliummediadesign.com, and then how we want that to work is we want it to be a hyperlink reference to our actual email, and to get that to work we have to do quotes, mail to, semicolon, or colon, I'm sorry, and then the actual address, close out your quotation mark, close out your opening A tag. So this list item has the word email that is hyperlinked to this address, and the actual address shows up, and that's the end of the list item. The second one is a phone number, and we just have this text showing up on our page. So save your file and run it in Chrome, and this is what the page looks like. So we have 2 bullet points, and this should actually be an email link, and it'll probably try to launch Outlook or something else for me right now, which we don't really want to have happen, but I want to show you that it does recognize it as an email hyperlink. All right, that gets us through, and Trillium Media Design now has, yep, you can see down here it's trying to load Outlook, which I don't want to have happen. So I'm going to hit cancel. Yes, but that did work as a hyperlink. So in our folder, we now have 3 pages. We have index, services, and contacts. So that's exactly what we wanted to have done. We have a 3-page website. The email hyperlink, also of interest, should be this. Let's go back here and run this in Chrome. And I want you to realize that now all 3 of your navigations are going to work as well because these pages exist. So clicking on the services page, because we told it in our navigation to take us to that page, that works. And so does your contact. So from all 3 pages, you can get to each other. The reason that we did our navigation first and we had all of our links working, even though those pages didn't exist, is that when we built our second page, all this code was already there for us. We could just tweak what was in the content area down here. The navigation was ready and working, so that helps quite a bit. All right, the final thing that we're going to look to is the email hyperlinks, which we've already done because, whoops, by the power of jumping ahead, I didn't realize that we didn't talk about this. So I showed it to you just a second ago, but here's the actual information behind it. By adding the href using the mail to tag right here, the browser will automatically launch the default email program, and it will take you there. So it's a good idea to place the email address both on the web page and within the anchor tag. Why would that be? Well, what if we just had the word email underlined right here, and that was the word that was hyperlinked to this address, but you couldn't see this? For some people that's annoying because say you're using Gmail. Will it automatically launch Gmail for you, or will it try to launch and install Outlook? If you don't want that to happen, some people prefer to be able to actually see this right here. So in theory, I could highlight it, copy it, go to my email program, and paste it in rather than having to pop up Outlook. An issue with this is that this is actually in your code, and we can see that real easily by going to our code, and here it is in 2 places. This is plain old HTML that can easily be found by robots that are combing through websites looking for active email addresses to create databases and then hit you with information, spam you. So some people don't like that, some people do like that. All right, that gets us through chapter 2 in its completion. And we are done with this video.